All right, so we are ready to start our webinar. We've got a really fancy title, but this is really about NetDocs AI. And so this is great. Optimal, if we go to the events page, I'm not going to go into it on this one. We go into it in all the other webinars. We're doing about a webinar a week on Wednesday at the same time here. This is a guest webinar where I've met someone through the NetDocs partner community who happens to sometimes live in Washington, D.C., like I do, but has really helped our clients start using the AI products in NetDocs. And I'm going to let Julian go into that. I'll sit back and maybe I'll ask some questions at the end of this. But when clients now want a specific AI app or they want one of the NetDocs studio apps customized, I send them over to Julian and I get rave results back. And that's all I need to know is that the client's happy. So it's really allowed our team to focus on NetDocs migrations, NetDocs support, and NetDocs training, and let these AI projects go to an expert. And with that, Julian, I'm going to turn this over to you um, and let you introduce yourself. I will say Julian is joining us from Germany today before he comes back stateside. So thank you for staying up late at night to do this for all of our.
Oh, oh, absolutely certain. The day's just beginning in Germany. The day's just beginning in Berlin. The city's at night essentially. Hey, can you all see my screen?
We can. And can I add
Perfect.
one thing real quick is questions. We're going to answer questions at the end. You can add questions in the chat, in the Q&A, and then even at the end if someone raises their hand, we'll allow them to answer questions as well, but we're going to let Julian go through the presentation first and then we'll answer questions.
Alrighty. Alrighty. I'll take that as a cue to begin. All right. So, hi everyone. Today we're going to talk about we're going to talk about AI, but from a very practical angle. How do we use NetDocuments AI and specifically, PatternBuilder Max to automate, various workflows you have within NetDocs and really kind of take it end to end. A lot of AI conversations are big and theoretical. This one's a little bit of the opposite. We're going to focus on what you can actually implement, what can actually be implemented within the suite, particularly without ripping out and replacing your existing tech stack. I think the best thing about using NetDocuments is that the company is adding in AI tools internally. So you don't have to kind of like rip and replace, rip and replace everything you've done already and kind of add a new UI and everything like that. Um, Here's what you can expect. I'm going to do a quick framing of why AI inside NetDocs matters, what Pattern Builder Max changes, ND and then I'll show you some use cases of the Pattern Builder use case, an ND Max AI use case, including some live demos, and at the end I'll share a simple way to identify some 1 to 2 use cases. By the way, start thinking about what's one workflow that you'd like to automate. Some like examples like intake, filing, contract review, billing, matter close, anything like this. Drop in the chat if you'd like. A little bit about me while you're all thinking about that. So I'm Julian. I am an AI product and implementation leader. I've worked in the last 10 plus years actually within AI. So since before the Chat GPT boom, actually studied its applications in social science at Oxford. And I've worked mostly in regulated non-tech environments, so fintech startups, Deutsche Bank, for example, which is not a fintech company, a regular bank. We were serving public sector clients, legal clients, etc. So ever since moving back to the US, I have founded AI in Practice, which is an 800 plus membership community for those who are AI technologists and who are the subject matter experts that they serve to make sure we're building, joint playbooks on how to best use AI per any particular field. Um, my bias is about taking AI from concept to deployment to adoption, under real constraints. And that's kind of why I've joined kind of the NetDocs partner program. It's a solid product and a solid and the company has a solid philosophy when it comes to building AI, and it's very well positioned to benefit from it too. And as NetDocs customers, you're very well positioned to benefit from it as well. So how I usually begin my spiel. I'm in Germany at the moment, so I won't say a spiel. How I begin our spiel about, I know I'm in DC, but I'm in Berlin at the moment, but we're done. All of us, NetDocs, implementers are traveling a lot. I usually Within the next 18 to 24 months, I think you should all start thinking about these AI tools as your new command center. And they're quickly going to be that way. So think about when you like wake up in the morning and you begin work. What do you think is your default workspace? Is it your email desktop, for example? Is it Microsoft Word, for example? You're kind of building something out or something. Historically, work is scattered, email is here, documents there. And with you guys, it's practice management software, your DMS, for example. You're kind of manually stitching everything together. What AI is doing now, especially since these tools can connect, is turning a lot of them into turning them into your command center. Basically, I think within the next 18 to 24 months, your default workspace is going to be your user interface to an LLM. That LLM is going to be hooked into basically all of your different, your tools underlying infrastructure, and you're going to be commanding and controlling it from there. Uh, NetDocs, this is particularly true with NetDocs. I'll show you when the roadmap with it later too. The legal AI assistant, you can use that within the DMS for sure, on the roadmap is for that legal AI assistant to be integrated into the Pattern Builder apps, to be integrated with the Microsoft Copilot, for example, and from there, other particular tools. Like you can imagine your practice management software, for example, also being integrated from there. So I think that's how you should really start thinking about these AI tools. They're not replacing you, but you are using them as your command center. You can ask questions, you can trigger workflows, you can get outputs from it, for example, and that's definitely like the direction of travel for this technology. For legal and professional services firms, one important thing is that the command center has to be governed, secure, built around your content as well. That's where NetDocuments has a real advantage here. And that brings us to NetDocs. Why use AI within NetDocs? So first off, your content is already here. Documents, well, your workspaces, matter structure, metadata. You're not exporting sensitive material to 10 different places. I'm sure a lot of people, I'm sure there's plenty of scandals already, sending confidential data to in an unpaid ChatGPT account, which definitely often will be used to train future versions of the model. Your content's already here, it's secure, etc. You get governance and security by design, in particular for professional services firms, law firms like you. That matters when you're dealing with privileged information. That NetDocs, we will say this again, NetDocs has a special, contract with OpenAI it has extra governance security features on top of that to ensure your data security. So that's very good. And the third issue is like the AI value shows up in very few core areas. So search and discovery, which also benefits to that on the road, improvements to that are on the roadmap. It's usually useful when you can't remember the exact file name. I'll go over that feature in the future, later in this presentation. Document insights and analytics, so summaries, extraction, pattern recognition, workflow automation. That is set up here, so the AI isn't just answering questions, it's doing work. And you have, as I said, seamless integration into daily routines. Again, I'll go back to this. AI tools as your new command center. And it's definitely kind of on the roadmap for NetDocs. Now let's talk about the piece that makes the anime automation feel smart instead of if this, then that, for example. The AI suite. And I'll go over a little bit on kind of how the AI suite is set up, some basics. So the legal AI assistant, that's the AI assistant that sits within the DMS itself. And this is just kind of a quick review for everyone to be on the same page of what different particular terminologies mean and how they apply to NetDocs suite. So the AI assistant, when you're highlighting when you're selecting documents, asking questions of them, that's the AI assistant. Pattern Builder, meanwhile, is a document generation tool with no code builder and templates. And I actually have an example of that open here. This is where we build these. This is the interface where we build these no code apps in the back end. This is, Auto Profiler, which is one I'll bring up later on. It might look complicated, but it is technically no code. You know, uh, Craig and I can show you what code looks like. I can tell you this is not really it. I've used Python We've used SQL for many years. Python, I got to be an expert in Python, and R, I had to learn that in graduate school. This is not code. This is much easier than that. Pattern Builder is how you build document generation tools from, there's no code interface. And Pattern Builder Max, ND Max, core part of it, is the AI capabilities on top of Pattern Builder. So when you have, if I can pull up the right one, here's an example. We'll go over this one, contract risk analysis. These are extra blocks within that no code builder where you can send information to OpenAI, come back, etc. And that's kind of where you have all those, remember those ND Max Studio apps you might have been hearing about? That's where they come from. You have to have Pattern Builder Max as a product in order to get those. So, in recap, Legal AI Assistant within the UI, Pattern Builder, it's for generating documents from inputs, no AI, and Pattern Builder Max is that plus AI, sending prompts to OpenAI, receiving information back, for example. At the end, we'll offer, an assessment roadmap session, kind of sprint to help you identify first 1 to 2 automations. Alrighty. So, core capabilities of Pattern Builder Max. Why that is so, why we're here, why that is so interesting. The no-code design I spoke to you about before. You can build workflows here without kind of having some coding, without having a full coder. Someone who are probably good with technology, but not a full coder. Some of you may have Zapier, but Craig and I were talking about before, N8N, similar concept. To integration with OpenAI. So OpenAI is the main provider of AI to NetDocuments. If you want your own model, there's actually a way we can set that up. You can host your model in Azure, and then we can actually go into the back end of the admin console and make sure we can add that endpoint in, but you have to host that on Azure. OpenAI is the core provider here on Pattern Builder Max. You can combine rules plus the AI. Kind of, just as you can have, you can input a doc, you can input you know, types of information like a document, for example, send it to an AI, come back, etc., and has deep integration to your native workspace. So this is the part that makes it enterprise ready. It's natively connected to workspaces, profiles, metadata, etc. And that's kind of the power of the integration. PatternBuilder Max seamlessly connects with, it isn't trying to replace your environment, it's making making automation that understands your firm's structure ultimately. Now, it's enough theory. I did say theory, kind of going on these different files. Let's talk a little bit about kind of how these look like in practice, in case those of you haven't seen this product yet, haven't seen this feature of NetDocuments yet. Here is the here is a, for a fake law firm, like a estate intake document automation tool I've created. I've already, taken the liberty of adding in adding in template information here. It's an app. You go to your user interface, you open with app. I've already added this kind of information in the back. I've set it to kind of some simple, just to make it kind of just easy to do. Have any of you seen Marty, Marty Supreme? It's based off Marty Supreme, his own estate. I've added him certificate estate intake from Marty Supreme. So I added all this information in, continue. This is how the app works as as a non-technical user. And give it a minute to load. Just kind of like, running through everything.
So this
Pattern
is
builder. Yeah, go ahead.
so this is where you're like a user or an end user would go, and this is the intake sheet that they would be filling out, just in a
Yes,
web page.
exactly. Within a web page, within a web page.
We
Let's let it
forgot to
wait for.
cue the Jeopardy.
I forgot to what? Oh, I probably.
Cue the Jeopardy music here.
I know, I know, I know. I think I just need to, I set this all up ahead of time, and maybe everything's just kind of like a little bit frozen because of it. Um, no good deed goes, no good deed go. I can just kind of refresh it too. We can go back, actually. Let's just refresh. This is just on the preview. But yes, Pattern Builder was actually originally another tool. existed independently from NetDocs that was acquired by NetDocs. So that's kind of basically how it works. But it's, you do a state, basically, you take your intake form, you put information in, out comes a document. While we wait for that, I'm going to actually just kind of relaunch it probably. And I'm also going to also relaunch the second one we're going to do actually, okay. Let's actually just move on while we load the first one, let's move on to the second one. This is contract risk analysis, and this is an this is a full AI related app. Comes from the studio. I can help you guys set this up, tailor it to your own needs. Basically, what happens here is that, with it, here's my own test cabinet. You can choose up to 100 different documents. Doesn't even need to be contracts, and you apply a playbook to them. And that playbook's usually stored in the back end as a table, for example. And basically, you can apply the same analysis template to all of them, to basically all 100 documents. So here's just like some random employment agreements I have. These are just from like, these are not confidential information. They're just sample documents for sure. Up to 100 you can have. They are employment agreements, and basically you can send this to basically we send these documents to OpenAI. We apply the same contract review analysis, and it's a way to get very consistent review from, up to in a very incredibly short amount of time to up to 100 documents. And it's called contract risk analysis, but it doesn't have to be. So here's how quick it works. And basically it's the same logic applied to everything. And it also kind of goes to show, does your, while we set these apps up for you, think about it. Do you have those process prerequisites, I like to say, like created? Ultimately, does your team have a playbook, a consistent playbook by which each individual member of your team can apply to a contract or any particular type of a logic to apply to analyzing any document? This is kind of, I've been brought on to create, bots that will, automate contract review, only to realize, oh, we have to actually go back in the team and develop that contract review logic ourselves and settle on it. And I've helped them do that. So what these AI tools really kind of bring to the forefront is, okay, you want to teach a machine to do you want to teach a machine to do part of your job, but can you actually write down what part of your job is? So, I've helped teams kind of bring them on board to really kind of make full use of these AI tools. As you can see in the back end, there's a table that stores, okay, prompts that says, okay, and take this employment contract, analyze it for XYZ, etc. Come back with a scoring mechanism, and we could do that for up to 100 different documents. You know, it's kind of like rather pretty good. Here we are, and here's the estate intake app. It's just, Marty Supreme. We're gonna have just to kind of show you what this all is. I have this, you have an existing will. I want to make this simple. This is just kind of a basic kind of pattern builder app, non-AI agent. This one doesn't have any particular AI in it, but you can add them in together. As we can see, successor name, test, just test information for sure. And we're going to test for the beneficiary. We're going to have one beneficiary, Virginia. So 1, 2, 2, 5, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then, just beneficiary was born yesterday. No more beneficiaries. Just to kind of give you a sneak peek, hey, here's how this particular, pattern builder works. And soon we're actually going to have a bunch of different power of attorney, last will and testament, current assets list, living trust within seconds. And you can imagine you can combine these two features, you combine AI features with those document generation features to really kind of develop so many cool different workflows within your own NDMax, and just to, you know, send these to AI, the AI, etc. As long as you have a template set up, works pretty well. Um, and I guess I have it actually open. I do have it open. Let me go ahead and share an application window. Word. Yep. Here's our power of attorney for Marty Supreme. If you can you see it?
Yes.
All right. Power of attorney for Marty Supreme. Just, it's a real kind of real document, for example. They all come out, as long as we have this template set up, we can make sure, up to plenty of different documents can come out. So that gives you an idea a little bit how these apps work. Let me go ahead and share again. Basic intake. Here we are. Alrighty, so those are kind of like one non-AI app and one AI app. So you can see the screen again?
Yes.
Cool. All right, so this brings us to what's on that immediate roadmap and what makes, using AI within NetDocs such a great tool, something really kind of like to lean into of all the different AI tools that you're probably, being bombarded with. Craig and I were just talking about Otter. Uh, Stay within the NetDocs suite for some things. For example, on the immediate roadmap is actually an app for auto profiling, and that's actually delivered already there. This is an app that runs in the background and it fills in missing metadata fields for uploaded documents with AI. With AI. When I've set up certain cabinets and repositories for customers like in the past, I've told them, okay, don't have too many metadata fields because you're not necessarily going to want to use all of them. It's going to be hard as an end user. But when you're delegating this to AI and you're just loading, you could have theoretically countless different metadata fields. You're gonna have very, very detailed, categories for kind of particular documents. AI handles the classification. Instead of having different, 10 to 15 different document types, you can actually have hundreds, which I know for a fact, many legal assistants, many attorneys are really driven to categorize things. So, auto profiling allows you to really go wild with that. Yes, Craig.
So just to be clear here, this probably comes into the play where you do need a playbook for this as well. So if you wanted to release auto profiling in your firm, you would agree if we look at a document and we see these things, fill this out. But that has to be agreed on by everyone. Is that correct or am I wrong there?
I would say so. Yeah, it's kind
Yeah.
of like one of those, as they say, the process prerequisites. You guys
Yeah.
kind of have to, you as a team, you guys should know know a little bit about the outcome you want. Because you're gonna have to, if we could develop an auto profiling app and it could give you 100 different categories maybe your team doesn't even want to use, for example.
Things that I've seen in auto profiling are like Bates number, pull out a Bates number range in this document. So when we look at the profile on the right hand side in a list view in NetDocs, we can see that information. Maybe bank account information. Maybe go through the document and identify if you see a social security number, and then we could mark it like privileged, or we could put something in there that says, hey, there's personal identifiable information if we see an EIN number and you'd have to define that, what is that number?
Exactly. And those are great uses for auto profiling. You can really kind of just it helps with even with governance those governance and security needs, for example. Yeah, absolutely. Kind of get you guys some thinking what could the possibilities of it. Coming up on the roadmap and beta testing this month is Smart Search. So, and this is an exciting one. The legal AI assistant. Um, a lot of time, when I talk to some customers, what they really want from the legal AI assistant is a search function. Search within my repository, find me some good examples of, indemnity clauses or anything like that, and send them back to me, etc. And smart the legal AI assistant can't do that as well at the moment. Like if you don't know exactly which document you're searching for, it won't be able to find it. Smart Search is able to do that. It can basically do a semantic search of a search of your entire repository. Here's some contracts that have this, for example. Here's some documents that have this particular feature you're looking for. Here they come back. So it's that missing step between knowing what you want and not knowing where it is. So they literally bridges that together, and that's in beta testing this month essentially. And finally, what I'm excited for, the legal AI system pattern builder integration. This is on the roadmap, for next few I can't say exactly when to be launched, but next few quarters, ability to trigger a background app from the legal AI assistant. And this is what I mean by that integration between the two. So you can use legal AI assistant and trigger, okay, can you please run this estate intake app for me, please, for example, or this other particular background app, for example. Can you please run the auto profiler again on this particular app, document, for example? That's like a full integration of all the different AI tools within NetDocs. This will be followed by metadata triggers. So if a certain profile of a document comes in, for example, document list triggers, timed triggers. So every time a trigger to run a background app at a certain time period. These are all on the roadmap. So this is what NetDocuments. When it comes to integrating AI tools with your existing workflow, NetDocuments is I bet money on that horse, this horse, I've jumped on it. And that's kind of why. There's a lot of these things on the roadmap. It's for this. Alrighty. Now let's actually go into some particular, use cases you might have, like pain points, and how this ND Max suite can help out with those pain points. So starting with admin burden, too much non-billable operations, for example, a huge pain point. Um, what's an ND Max solution for that? AI profiling, what we kind of spoke to you about before, can not only complete profile documents, fill metadata, makes, you know, if you have theoretically, you can now have hundreds of metadata fields. And now classification of these documents kind of just doesn't become as big of an issue anymore, for example. The pain point I call getting paid. Invoice friction, A&R follow-up, for example. You can have time and billing integration on the roadmap, with these AI tools. Legal AI assistant already can integrate into the NZMax. NZMax can already integrate into Microsoft Copilot, for example. There will be more integrations on that roadmap. NetDocs has a very nice pattern integration partner program. There's so many different add-ons for it. Cost control, expense growth. So some the contract risk analysis, kind of what I told you. They can basically analyze up to 100 contracts at a time, capacity constraints. So, the Summarize app, for example, one of those core ND Max Studio apps, up to summarize large documents with just the click of a button. Very useful. First pass understanding for long legal documents, for example. One pain point, client acquisition, proving value to clients fast, for example. The whole also non-bill, marketing, sales, onboarding funnel of, any law firm kind of has to do. You get document generator apps and from PatternBuilder integrated with AI features, engagement letters, checklists, referral letters, for example. When you have, as these integrations grow, you can send them to kind of, send certain documents to CRMs, for example, kind of have this whole onboarding process more automated. Price pressure, more for less expectation. I think everyone's, facing this one. Here's an issue list generator. There's different separate discrete NT Max apps that we can integrate for you to, put a document in, pull out a playbook from it, and then apply that playbook to another document. For example, yeah, it kind of really speeds up a lot of reviews. And finally, I think the most important one, tool sprawl and tech complexity. What I tell a lot of, friends who are developing AI tools, for example, is that, no one wants another UI. Everyone's already drowning in them. They're drowning in their tech stack. They have so many different logins, different UIs they have to learn, etc. The NT Max is integrating into other tools. It's already integrated with Copilot, for example. There's ways you could use Copilot. They can do some like limited, searching within the NetDocs app based off permissions and roles you give a particular user. That's going to grow. Remember, in the beginning, I said AI is going to become your new control center within the next 18 to 24 months. You're going to go into the legal AI assistant, for example, or the AI assistant with the NetDocs or Copilot, command your other tools from there because they're all going to be integrated. And these tools just get better and better. A lot of coders are you kind of on this path already. I don't know if you've heard there's Cloud Code, OpenClaw, etc. There's kind of everything's being integrated together. That's the direction of travel. Direction of travel. It's not there yet, not even for the coders, but direction of travel. So the NDMX suite really kind of just helps with that, using AI natively within NetDocs. Alrighty, let's a little bit more about quickly more about just the direction, how to build a map, like what's the roadmap direction, etc. This is the strategy slide. So it works, PatternBuilder Max works best as a seamless incremental integration hub. And it's increasingly being so. Start where your value is easiest. You start with your DMS, your workflows, your document management system workflows, your current document flows, filing, profiling, intake, standard templates. Developing templates that kind of take a while. Auto profiling apps, for example, we can definitely help you with that. Then connect your practice management systems, your other systems to it, Copilot as well, and then integrate other tools over time. The adoption strategy, kind of, what I push is about incremental rollout, not a giant infrastructure project. And this is where our assessment roadmap session exists. And this actually, leads me to kind of like my overall implementation framework, which is people, process, technology, and process prerequisites, something I was pushing for before. When building AI workflows, it's important to diagnose them from a think of them from a prerequisites perspective. Make sure those are in place. We've already touched on process prerequisites. Do you have a playbook, for example, for this particular document? People. I think it's completely underlooked. Evaluate skills, roles, collaboration effectiveness. Who in your team has the tech skills to kind of manage these projects over time? Where's their emotional resistance? Next week, I actually begin a course on Maven, teaching it on, how to bridge these prerequisites. And finally, your technology prerequisites. You're already on your way. You're using NetDocs DMS. That's already a large prerequisite. Make sure you have your OCR capabilities up and running, security, etc. And start bridging, diagnosing your gaps in those prerequisites and bridging them sooner rather than later. It's something that actually help you with the assessment roadmap. To give you an example of kind of how some of these engagements kind of for PatternBuilder Max go, the NetDocs community really pushes this crawl, walk, run framework. So, and I like to put this in kind of like 30, 60, 90-day increments. So in the first 30 days of crawling, with small, quick wins in AI, some training on legal AI assistant, for example. Training can actually go quite a long way. Make sure some integrations are set up. In 60 days, you can get one quick workflow up and running and a key tool implemented, such as, a estate planning intake, basic estate planning intake. Within 90 days, you can get two up and running, or you can get one workflow deeply embedded and integrated, for example, as those integration tools come out. To kind of just give you an example of what a more realistic AI roadmap looks like. And the kind of like how I push my own philosophy, pushing AI roadmaps. Common pitfalls to avoid. We got to have this sec. We got to bring this up for a little bit. So, black box AI. Treating AI as magic without understanding how it works. Yes, AI can hallucinate. We know that. There's a very famous database of around the globe of different court cases with hallucinated case law that were submitted to courts, for example, not just in the US, but everywhere. Make sure you know how that works. Metadata quality. Again, it goes to technology prerequisites, ignoring data quality issues that undermine AI effectiveness. As a quick note, the more gaps in your data quality, the more the AI will hallucinate to make up for them. And three, stakeholder alignment. So make sure everyone's bought in, make sure there's ownership, make sure there's governance, etc., as you build out your own AI your own AI operations over time. I think that's incredibly important. Um, as a technology, this is here to stay. It is transformative as well. Make sure to build out your own, not just incorporate AI governance into your overall firm governance too. This is going to be a core pillar of that going forward as well. Alrighty. Final takeaways, and I kind of give it over to, everyone that gets, a few final takeaways, a few more slides, me to give it over to everyone. So if you remember three things from today, it's that, PatternBuilder Max is a practical bridge between AI capabilities and real AI workflows. Second, to start small, scale smart. Begin with high impact use cases that expand systematically. Build AI out. Don't go for large AI interventions at first. And I think we've all kind of been burned by in the last 2 years with that. Kind of, I think not bringing up names, but certain tools that are, over 1,000, I don't know, $1,000, €1,000 per user, and kind of got to bring that on, etc. No one gets trained, etc. This what I showed you here, this particular workflow that works, and then AI assistant essentially. Treat AI as an assistant. It augments expertise, doesn't replace it. Keep humans in the loop, especially for judgment calls. And how can we, let's get started. Let's start like an assessment roadmap sprint. Let's see where are your where are you range on prerequisites? What are some high impact use cases? Let's put that onto a roadmap with kind of a mix of training and building out workflows, building out apps, etc. Let's build out some, identify some high impact use cases and get started with us. All right, so I know it kind of went off on a lot. It's a lot of information, a lot about the tool, a lot about AI in general, being practical. I kind of turn it over to everyone else to have a little bit of Q&A and everything.
All right, and I'm seeing some questions come in here.
Cool.
So the first one is using Pattern Builder Max, and we'll go. I'll answer the second question. Let me go with this first one first. So if you get Pattern Builder Max, there are like 25 studio apps that
Yes.
NetDocs has already built for you. Okay. The question is the first question is, can any of those possibly hallucinate and make up stuff?
You're using AI just like in any other, there's using the same models as the models that do hallucinate. Yes, they can, but I will tell you the prompt setup in the back ends of these apps are pretty solid. And, ultimately what I do, even with that, I would still say, these apps, they're first reviews. So yes, the risk of hallucination is still there. It's mitigated because of the kind of the high quality of those prompts operating in the back end of these prompts, but the risk is still there, yes.
But but I guess when you build these apps or when you get these apps from NetDocs, there are settings in there, I think temperature or whatever, to kind of
Yes.
put it towards the lower end of not hallucinating, right?
Exactly, exactly. The risk is there, but it's set up so that we mitigate that risk as much as possible. Low temperature, rather long detailed prompts that ensure this. Multiple calls multiple calls to to OpenAI often to ensure things. It's even when you bring us on board, we could even make sure there's kind of citations if needed, for example.
There are a lot of these studio apps that we refer to. So if you got Pattern Builder, you would have access to download these and install these in your NetDocs environment already. If you go to our blog, our webpage, Optiable, we go over those. Can you just install them yourself? I mean, would you install all 25 at once? How would you roll those out to a firm?
You can, but I think it's probably best to bring on, the NetDocs partner who can help configure these apps for your repository. There's still some elements that have to be configured for kind of how your repository is technically set up, which variables to be used, etc. I think that's probably best practice.
Right.
Make, bring on someone who's kind of skilled in these apps.
Right. All
And
right. So
also to
because
train you too.
right. So no one's net docs is the same. I know this
Nope.
because I set up most of your net docs and I'm seeing the people on the call here. Some of you are client matter, some of you are client, some of you are case, some of you have doc type, some of you are folder based. And so you would need someone. This is first off, the apps will save time and development costs because they've already been created, but we have to then configure them to the NetDocs environment. And that's where someone like you would come in, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
And then the other thing I would say from my experience, while there's 25 apps right now and people are building more every day, a lot of them are practice specific. So I think it's probably good to choose a couple of these apps and start with those. Do not attempt to try to do 25 at once. You want to pick one or two
Yes.
that could be very useful for your firm.
Exactly. I remember crawl, walk, run. Start with a few, get used to having a few, and then, build out from there. I don't, when it comes to AI, I don't always recommend to go all in at once immediately. It's going to be too overwhelming
Yeah.
just for like
What
as a change, for your team.
what I would say is for us, what we do, and just to be clear on this, because I know we're going to get this question too, is that for us, if you get the NetDocs AI assistant, we will definitely set that up for you. We will do a training for your firm, but it's very easy. Then you could just use it. And that's a good step to start prompting. And what I mean by prompt is asking it
Yes.
specific questions. Learn
Yes.
how to ask it questions, learn how to be a little more specific in what you want. And that is easy. I could have your firm in a week using that. Everything else, we need a little bit more human intervention, which I guess is good because we're still around. To like, if you want, so that one of the questions is, where do these forms exist for pattern builder and doc generation? They don't. You have to come up and you have to create them.
Yes.
So you have documents already. We would identify what are the variables in the document. Where are we storing this information? That's a data table in NetDocs. And then I don't know if anyone really noticed, but Julian had that intake form, which actually generated like five documents. It didn't generate
Yes.
one.
You can go
Um,
up to more than that too.
right. So you have to, as a firm, start deciding. And again, this is the pitfall I will see with it right now. Here is the most complicated document we have, and we're going to start with that one first. And I'm like, please do not do that. Here is the basic document that we send out all the time. Let's automate that. And then let's start building on that. That's the way to do it.
Exactly. And that's exactly it. Like that's the right change management approach when it comes to AI, for sure.
All right. Why can't I just take documents out of NetDocs and go to Claude and ask them questions about those documents right now?
Um, because NetDocs has a much, NetDocs has a cloud check with OpenAI that has extra security features to ensure your PII data, ensure kind of private data is not being used, is not being exposed to anyone else and it's not being used to train the model, for example. I would if you're using this kind of these documents are stored in NetDocs for a reason, because to keep them secure. I think when using AI features, I think it's best to keep them you know, in that secure environment as well, instead of removing it and asking and using it with Claude. It's possible in the future that NetDocs has a contract with Claude as well, and underneath the hood, you can a contract with Anthropic, you can switch to Claude, OpenAI models, etc. At the moment, it is OpenAI. So, for security reasons, I recommend stick within the suite of NetDocs.
You talked about integrations with Microsoft Copilot. Now, just to be clear, we have a company called OpenAI, which is Chat GPT, right? That's how
Yes.
I would think most people know that.
Yep. Yes.
Okay. And so that when you use NetDocs AI, we're talking you're using OpenAI or Chat GPT. Okay.
Yes.
Then their Microsoft has its Copilot product.
Yes.
Is and so I would say this in NetDocs, everything, all our documents and emails are probably in NetDocs, but we might have missed some that are going to be emails or even,
Yeah.
let's say, calendar events. Copilot is something that's good for like looking at your Outlook calendar too and telling you information. Is there any way to query both of them right now, or would there ever be? Is there a way to use Copilot with your NetDocs documents? Basically, is what I'm asking.
Yes, there is, Copilot with if you integrate the two together, Copilot and NetDocs, then you can query, elements of NetDocs. You can't get all the NetDocs features, but from Copilot, yes.
All
And
right,
there's going to be
Lord.
more. There's more to be, on that roadmap, sure.
All right, Lori just asked a great question. It is a question, Julian, that I
Ooh,
never know how to answer.
ooh,
Okay.
okay.
And it's really about, can you go into and explain to the audience about tokens? Okay. And basically, and then we'll go into, there's issues with metering, or I would go with that tokens, and we can
Hmm.
talk about size after that. But when I turn my firm on to this, and I've seen this happen, we hit a limit. Can you explain
Yep.
that?
I've hit the limit as well. What these tokens are, they are chunks of information you're sending to the model and receiving back. And NetDocs within the suite, there is a limit of how many tokens you can send and receive back over a certain period of time, and per request over a certain period of time. And sometimes people do hit that limit. And Craig and I can kind of work through that, try to lobby NetDocs to increase your metering, your limit, for example. But there's actually a list of size limitations, or kind of what you can use with the legal AI assistant, at least, and there's actually on the support documents.
Uh, That
Um,
that's
yeah,
easy. That's 100 documents. Okay, it's 100
yes.
documents at a time. And realistically, I think some of these are open AI limits. They're not really NetDocs limits.
But not always. I've had some success getting, NetDocs to kind of, I've had some success lobbying just the account manager at NetDocs, though. Not
Okay,
always.
so but for AI assistant, 100 documents, no
Yes.
document can be over 900 pages. Okay,
Yes.
and I think no document can be larger than half a gig. That's I think 512 megabytes. I just put half a gig there. And then on the token, so let's go with this way because I can't tell you because this is the question again. It's like, well, what am I going to hit my token limit? I'm like, I have no clue. I mean, I did a NetDocs training where the firm hit their token limit during the training. That wasn't fun, but an AI assistant because everyone was using it as I was using it. But
Happens.
let's go it this way because we don't know what queries you're running. We don't know how many people are using it. If you hit a limit, is that is kind of reset within I think 4 hours? Is that correct?
4 hours. I think that's right. 4 hours. At this point, a repository owner can go in the admin console and review token usage. You can
Correct.
review that in the admin console. That's probably the best way to look at it. So, that's, it's someone who's kind of well trained in the suite and has admin console access can do.
All right, so to be very specific on that, there's basically an Excel file you can
Yeah.
download of first quarter AI usage, and then we'll see it by day, okay, of
Mhm.
queries asked. So if you've never hit the limit, why are you worrying about this? That's the only thing I could say. Like, only worry about it if we hit that limit, then we need to determine what we were doing to hit that limit and then see if there's any way we can get more tokens or not. I mean, I kind of feel like this is like 80% of the people are never going to have this issue. And for the 20% that do, we'll deal with it.
Exactly. Exactly. But I think that's and we can help, I've been successful in helping clients work through that issue with NetDocs itself.
All right. How much does this all cost? And this is the easiest way to, so I can answer this on this is that we don't work for NetDocs. I always tell everyone I'm talking to on the phone, I do not work for NetDocs. I try to make that clear. So if you're interested, please reach out to me. And we have some options here. I don't know what we want to do with AI yet. I think that's great for the AI assistant. Okay. Because then we can at least, and you have to do this. There's no way, like, if you don't do this, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. And this is not a sales. I mean, AI assistant, I'm basically not really charging you a lot of money, but you got to move your firm in this direction. So AI assistant's there. And then if you decide that you want the Max Studio apps, the things that Julian went over today, that's PatternBuilder Max. And we need to get with an aftermarket sales rep to see how much that will
Yes.
cost. And then from there, we should come up with one or two things that we want to systemize. And that's where that you would contact Julian to figure out what that project be, what that engagement would look like. And you have to really start thinking about what you want. And again, and I'll shut up, but the problem here on every single one of these is the firm is like, well, it's going to take us 6 months to figure out what we want. And I'm like, okay, figure out the most basic thing you can automate right now and let's do it. And like, and don't say anything else. Just bring in with this and let us do that for you. Right?
Yes, and that's something I can help you with. That roadmap. When I say contact us out for an assessment and roadmap, that's what I mean. It's like, okay, where are you right now? What it to according to those prerequisites, I kind of keep, running home with people, process, technology. What are some good value add use cases? What is achievable at the moment? What adds value to you guys? And how would you put it on the roadmap? When I say, okay, the assessment road mapping sprint. In tech, we often work in these sprints. That's basically what I'm doing, helping you guys make sense of AI make sense of NZ Max and kind of putting all that onto the road, putting that, onto an achievable roadmap. And it's because I think, that you hit the nail on the head, Craig. Like it's a lot of a lot of firms know it is coming. They don't know where to begin, but we can help you with where to begin. If you have you go with some kind of high value use cases and then really, run from it there, but run with it from there.
All right. Perfect. Now let me just see here. All right. So I'm not seeing any more questions. I'll just give you some time to ask a couple more questions if you have some. Um, next next week, I'm doing an office hours at this time. So 1 hour, I'll be back in DC at that time. Will you be back in DC then next week?
I will
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, so I haven't even checked the weather yet, but it'll probably be. I won't be wearing short sleeves, I'll tell you that. So I'm doing office hours next week, and then the week after, I'm going to do NetDocs on mobile devices. We're going to talk about Androids, iPads, iPhones, all that stuff, and then we've got another office hours scheduled. I'm not seeing any more questions, so just takeaways here. You're going to get a copy of this webinar emailed to you tomorrow. Um, oh, I got another. Just got a question
Okay.
here. So there's that. If you're interested in this, contact me. We're gonna figure out where with NetDocs on what this would cost, and then again, our firm Optiable will help you with the AI assistant. Everything else, we're gonna recommend Julian. Document automation, AI specific products, and even installing the studio apps and getting them set up correctly. That's going to be our recommendation. Can you set formatting requirements on document outputs to Julian?
On document output. So if you're using a pattern builder app and you're having developing a document, you can actually do that within the template. I might be saying things very technical, but there's a way, yes, you can do that when you're using pattern builder itself. The template itself has formatting, has a certain format that you can set
Well,
even within Word.
yeah, and I mean, so in my mind, the way I read that is, so I will take. This is what I'm going to tell you how I use the AI assistant because you guys are all like most of you are clients of mine, and I'll be like, all right, let me go to this matter, let me go select all these like emails here, and I'm like, what did I promise the client? Can you give me
Mm.
a summary in about 300 to 400 words, and could you give me 5 bullet points? And you can query your queries can do that. So I mean, you can choose the formatting that you get out when you ask the questions like that. You can choose bullet points, you could choose length. I mean, you could do a lot of those different things. And then if you're building a pattern builder actual like document template, 1,000%. I want this part in Times New Roman 12. I want, this paragraph in italics. I mean, you can do all that as well. Jordan, I don't know if we completely answered your question, but on the output of documents, I often ask a question. When I ask a question, I also specifically say, this is how I want you to give me the answer. And then Julian, I know that on the Pattern Builder Max apps, you could go into way more detail. Like I want 1,000 words, 500 words. You could bullet points. You could do
Yes,
all that, right?
absolutely. And even especially even when you're sending it to OpenAI and getting a response back, yeah, those same principles apply.
Yeah.
You can, what kind of format you want it back. Absolutely.
Oh, awesome. All right. Well, look, thank you so much. I'm glad I got to do a webinar where I didn't really have to speak as much. So, and this was really, really helpful. So, I mean, everyone's got my email address. You're going to get this video tomorrow. If you would like to further this conversation, reach out to me and we will take care of you with some human touch and maybe some AI automation as well.
Of course, yeah. And I stress that point, like that if you're excited but don't know where to begin, you know, we can help you with that too. Because I know that's a lot, probably where a lot of teams have been through a lot of AI demos. They like the technology, it's cool, but no one know, but a lot of people don't know exactly like, hey, how do I actually begin? You know, don't be afraid, reach out to us for that because we can help you with that.
All right. Well, thank you so much. What day are you flying back?
Monday.
How
I'll be
long is
back
that
in the,
flight?
oh, it's gonna be nine. I can tell you all about it. It's gonna be like 9 hours. I think I fly through Munich because in Berlin there's no direct flights to DC. Yeah, I've been doing it for 10 years, so I'm pretty used to this.
Well, I'm flying back to DC from Baton Rouge on Tuesday. It will be a 2 hour flight. So,
Oh, shit.
and by the way, just to say this is that flight has Wi-Fi, and I use PatternBuilder AI assistant on it all the time. So,
Oh,
up in the air, yeah. Because I mean, what else am I going to do on a 2 hour flight? So,
we're in the future. We're in the
yes.
future already. The future's arrived.
All right. Well, you have a great day, and I will talk to everyone soon.
Thank you.